All right, Chuck and Kelly with Diane. Kelly should be back tomorrow, and we are joined by our legal analyst, Paul Harding, Martin Harding Mazzotti. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Chuck. Diane, hello.
Joyce Mitchell, who helped Richard Matt and David Sweat escape from the Clinton Correctional Facility in June of 2015, denied parole yesterday. The hearing was actually last week. The decision was released yesterday. And I don't know if this is a normal course of affairs, but reading the decision from the parole board, which was unanimous, they really hammered her on a lot of fronts. Were you surprised at just how critical they were, or is that common for a parole board to be so pointed?
Yeah, they come right at it when they write things. They get very specific. They review the underlying case pretty closely. But, I didn't expect her to get paroled. I mean, this was her first opportunity, right? She had a 2 1/3 to 7-year sentence. It was the first time in front of the board. There was so much of a highlight on this. And, of course, the egregious conduct put folks who were convicted of murder back into the public. I just didn't see her getting out of it this early in the process.
They cited, among other things, the fact that she's still playing the victim and didn't take accountability for her actions. I assume that's a big factor in parole.
Well, they look at a bunch of stuff. You look at, they say, what time, how were you in prison? How are you doing? What's your physical health? How old are you? And remorse, right? Because, I think we always want to see that, even at sentencing. When people are getting sentenced originally, you want to see, where are they now? And now they've been in prison for, in this case, 2 years plus. She had some time to reflect and say, you know what, this is something I did. But she continues, and maybe rightly so, to the extent that she, as said, she was sort of living in a fog and was enjoying all the attention, and she was depressed, and all that might be true. But yeah, she's going to have to sing a different tune at her next hearing, I think, if she's going to have an opportunity. And I think that could be as early as June of this year.
We're talking with Paul Harding, our legal analyst, and I was wondering one aspect of this. So they do outline things just the way that you say they do. But one thing struck me as, is this boilerplate? The very last line saying that it'd be incompatible with the welfare of society and that there's reasonable probability that you would not live and remain at liberty again without violating the law. That struck me as odd, and I wondered if that's just kind of something they say all the time. Because do we really think she would get out and break another law?
Yeah, get involved in, no one's going to hire her at another prison and let people break out. Yeah, right, because she hadn't had a history of any criminal. I saw that too, and I thought to myself, it is one of those things you kind of throw in as you're writing the decision, and it just sort of, confirms while we're not doing this, kind of, the expression, throw everything in, including the kitchen sink. Yeah, I would agree. That piece doesn't seem to be very strong here and seems to be something that they just either, left in from a prior one or just put in to really kind of, hammer home the fact that she's not getting out. Because, yeah, all the things she was, one of the things she probably is not is someone who's going to do this or anything again.
Speaking to our legal analyst, Paul Harding. So you say about the next hearing might be in June?
Yeah, I was surprised. And I'm not really ever sure how that works because it really depends on the sentence, right? So, but, yeah, I did take a look, and as early as June, and if she was granted parole in June, she could get out as early as October. And there's a lot of fancy rules around why it doesn't happen right away. But so, yeah, the story's going to kind of come back. And again, I don't want to prognosticate here, but I don't think it's going to happen that early again, too. But I think somewhere midway through her sentence, she's somewhere in that the 3 to 4 range that they will kind of see their way clear to kind of give her some parole. Again, it doesn't mean you're free. It doesn't mean the sentence is over. It means that you're out and you got a report, and probably would be the right decision here.
So you think she's been in for 19 months now. You think maybe 3 to 4 years. Is it possible that someone who behaves perfectly behind bars during their sentence would ever serve their full term? Is that theoretically possible?
It is absolutely theoretically possible. They look at all those other factors. I mean, that's just one factor. And really, most people behind bars come out, and that piece works out okay. It tends to be reported that they had what they call good behavior, right? So it doesn't mean that it just means that you've done what you're supposed to do, and maybe you've taken some classes, and you haven't gotten any fights, and you haven't, So most people show up at a parole hearing with that. When I say most, it'd be more than half. So it's a factor, but not the factor.
I thought one other thing I thought was interesting. I almost laughed. Mitchell, in her application for parole, said that if she was to be released, she would seek a job in the criminal justice field. And they said, we question the propriety of that goal.
I would question anyone hiring her, I guess. That would be a surprise to me, yes.
One last really quick question. How much does public opinion weigh in on this?
Sure. yeah, there was a lot of scrutiny on this, and obviously people outraged, lots of money, there's a lot of fear in this whole area and beyond during that escape. So, yeah, they know they're kind of being watched here. I mean, most parole hearings are not news. Let's face it. They'll do hundreds of these things, and they never even, scratch any aspect of sort of the public being aware of it, other than the individual victims who may have been part of the crime. So it weighs pretty heavily. That also, I think, is going to have a factor in her not being released so early.
WGY legal analyst Paul Harding, Martin Harding Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010. Thanks, Paul.
Okay,
Thanks, Paul.
guys, thank you.